The hold and rent and move up, I believe, is the best strategy for your local sphere of influence and your past clients. So here's the setup. You have somebody who is roughly in their 40s to 50s. They bought their family home sometime in the past 5 years. Interest rates were great. They're locked in on that. They're the people you've heard me call the happily stuck people. They like their house. They don't have a compelling reason to move. They don't want to give up their interest rate. And I think there is a percentage of them, and some of you have already seen this, who, let's say they've owned their house for the past 5 years and they've seen 50% plus equity growth. And along the way, they refied into a 2.75 on a 15-year fixed. It'd be really easy for that person to sit back and say, why would I ever sell this house? And the answer to that for most of them is they should never sell it. Because as an investor, which maybe they're not right now, however, if they begin thinking this way, as an investor, they have sort of fallen into one of the best things that can happen as an investor, and that is to have very low cost, long-term debt. So if you've got people in your sphere of influence who own property, basically anything below about 5%, I'll give you some data on this in just a second before we wrap up. From a wealth building standpoint, their best strategy is going to be to hold that house, to rent it as a long-term rental, to take the spread on the difference between what they can rent it for and what their payment is on that really low rate, and use that to allow them to move up into something else. And that net positive cash flow is offsetting the fact temporarily that they are paying a 7% interest rate versus something lower than 7. So they're going to get the cash flow to help absorb the payment, to be a buyer in a market that's behaving emotionally like a buyer's market, to get a better house for themselves now, keeping house number one as an investment property. Then they're going to go refi house number two in a year or 2 or 3 as rates retreat back to historical norms in the direction that people think they're going. Now, I know the strategy is not going to apply to everyone. I'm not suggesting that everyone should do that. Every situation is different. And I would bet that there is a certain percentage of your MET database who has decided that they're going to stay in their current home for the rest of their lives because they've not considered this wealth building strategy that we're talking about. The reason I think that's even more true is, and this is an NAR number, they asked the question in their profile of home buyers and home sellers to people who have recently purchased, how long do they expect to stay in their home? And the median answer to that question is 15 years. Now, if you've been studying these data for a long time like I have, you know that historically that number is somewhere around 7 to 10 years. It skews a little lower for younger buyers and a little longer for older buyers, yet normally that median number is 7 to 10. It's now 15. So I want you to look at those happily stuck people and at least have the conversation with them about using their current home as a wealth building vehicle as they look at acquiring other properties. You're going to add a lot of value to folks, even if they don't decide to do anything with this information. This is not something that most are going to arrive at on their own, and it's not something you're going to hear a lot in the headline. You can check out a lot of resources that we built for you at MiddletonEliteCoaching.com, and if you're interested in learning more about what we do, you can find us there.